All right, welcome back to the show. We got the one and only Stephen McClurg from Canary Capital. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. As promised, Stephen, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How you been?
Man, I'm doing great. Happy New Year to you and your family, man.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. And look, I know we have a lot to talk about, and I just recently saw a picture of Brad Garlinghouse and Stuart Alderoty, General Counsel from Ripple, meeting and having dinner at Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump. I'm so excited about the things coming in 25.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah, Brad's a great guy, and I'm so glad that he's getting involved in driving policy decisions.
Me too. And who knows? There's a crypto council being put together. Maybe he ends up on that too. That would be pretty nice as well. Okay, so as far as the new administration, we know that this is our first pro-crypto president, first pro-crypto administration broadly. We've seen appointees, the treasurer, Steve Bissent. We see Paul Atkins. We got Brian Quintenz. It's like Howard Lutnick. It is a dream team for crypto and AI innovation. And what are your thoughts? Because we also have a pro-crypto Congress too. What's your thoughts about 2025 here?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. You know, it's taken a little while, and if you remember the first Trump administration, Trump wasn't really sure about crypto and made some appointments that weren't very positive for us. A lot of people love to hate on Gary Gensler. That was Trump as well. I actually say that, look, Gary Gensler understands crypto. He got the first Bitcoin ETF launched, the first Bitcoin futures ETF launched, the first Ethereum. I mean, the list goes on. So, I'm not one of those people that are hating on Gary Gensler so much because, he did do a lot of positive things here. But now it's time to really, open up the floodgates.
It really is time to open up the floodgates. And it does appear that he's picked the kind of appointees that would give us the synergy needed to really embrace this innovation and take the U.S. at the front of the line in the pole position to be a leader in this technology, the way we saw the U.S. lead in the birth of the internet. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're even seeing some innovations coming out already that I believe are going to explode in the 2025 and 2026. Some of the things that I'm looking at, or some of the protocols out there that are more enterprise heavy, more transaction heavy. I'm not here to really talk negatively about any protocols or blockchains, but if you take a look at Ethereum, for instance, it's older software. I was just making transactions on it in my fund, and the gas fees are really high. It's very slow, and we have all these other protocols out there that are more enterprise friendly, more transaction speed friendly. One of the things that I'm excited about is the Ripple stablecoin. I think that is going to be really interesting going into 2025, and we can chat more about that if you like.
I would absolutely love to chat more about that because they've launched it on that high gas fee network, Ethereum. Not to throw shade at Ethereum, but you're right. There are protocols out here that are more efficient in serving in a higher capacity than others are out here. But let's hear your thoughts on the launch of the real USD on the Ethereum network and the XRP ledger, as well as we just saw a collaboration between Chainlink now to get the Oracle hooked up.
Yeah, that's right. So there's collaboration there between Chainlink. One of the other really interesting protocols that they've partnered with as well is Axelar. I don't know if you've come across them yet, but
yes.
They're actually the ones that built the interoperability between the Ripple ledger and ETH. So I've been tracking them very closely for the last 6 weeks, and very interested in that team and that protocol itself, as well as that token, AXL. So, but you asked the question, why Ethereum? Why is there interoperability between Ethereum and XRPL? Well, most people have built already on the Ethereum protocol, so it's one of those things where you have to, you have to be on that protocol. And you have to have that availability because that's where everybody's plugged into. It's going to take a while for some of the large exchanges and platforms to be able to move over into other protocols, but having interoperability between those two chains is a very good first step. That way you're servicing everybody that's already using it, plus you're building in the speed and the low gas fees that you get off of XRPL.
Absolutely, no doubt. It is a match made in heaven the way I see it. And for a lot of people struggling with these high fees on networks, like the Ethereum network at the moment, you may see a bit of an exodus, at some point for those that want to make that shift to another protocol, or at least have the ability to get off of that siloed island in some way, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And by the way, competition's good.
It is. It's very good.
Yeah, you want to have a lot of protocols fighting, duking it out. And what's going to end up happening is there's going to be some protocols that are better at some things and some that are better at others. Everybody doesn't use, Microsoft. Right. Some people use Apple. Some people use open source. So there are going to be better networks for better applications, right? And and I'm really excited what's happening there.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it's such a great point. It's a multi-chain world after all, right? And I love that. Right. I absolutely love that. And look, there's multiple search engines. There's multiple this and that and the other. The analogies are there for us to see the way this new innovation and this new digital economy is going to look. And it's going to be amazing with so many different multi-protocols tied in together. Now, let's talk about this conversation really quickly, which is U.S. Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Now, I've even heard Brad Garlinghouse say in a most recent interview, it makes sense to diversify and have a basket of assets and not just a Bitcoin. And I think that makes the most sense to me. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually tend to agree with that. What I think is going to be difficult to do is figure out which ones to include, right? There's a lot of people out there that say, well, you just do the top 10 by market cap or the top 20 by market cap. But really what you got to do is, if it were me setting it up, I would look at, okay, well, which one of these tokens actually, are substitutes for money in a lot of ways. I mean, look, at the end of the day, Bitcoin is the clear winner as far as money goes. But there are other tokens that are really good at that as well. So, I would say, there's probably 5 or 6 tokens out there that are really good substitutes for money. I don't consider Ethereum, as money. It's pure protocol, but I do consider things like Litecoin and XRP as other sources of money. So those are things that I would include in a reserve, and I wouldn't even call it. I know a lot of people are calling it the strategic Bitcoin reserve. There's something strategic about it. It really is just another holding for the for the U.S. Treasury that the Treasury holds things like gold and other assets. It is another form of money that it will be holding to make sure that the dollar is backed by something legitimate.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And look, anytime you can get these assets and have a deep sense of utility that's attached to them, I just think that's a match made in heaven, because you're talking about launching ETFs for these things, which creates a demand to custody them one-to-one or a surplus. And then you have, if it's got utility, deep utility, then you're talking about the demand and need for it from market makers and market participants every single day in the market. And that kind of pressure just creates the upward momentum. And I just love it. I think it's a match made in heaven.
Yep.
Now, what about, this is not a fair question, but I mean, just looking ahead, what kind of inflows could we expect for the ETF market? And if you want to talk about the asset market itself, it's fine too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so first of all, we already have Bitcoin and Ethereum out there. My prediction on Bitcoin is that it would be pretty big. There's a lot of asset managers and RIAs and institutional investors that have been looking at Bitcoin specifically for a long time, and they're ready to go on that. They've done their work. They've spent years doing it. The Bitcoin ETF is launched. When Ethereum ETF launched, I kind of surmised that it wouldn't be quite as big, because it's more retail heavy, and a lot of retail investors are already in it, and they also don't allow staking in the ETFs, and that's a big part of what Ethereum is. So if I'm a retail investor, I don't want to pay to be in an ETF. I'd rather get paid to stake my ETH. Yeah. So that's going to be pretty tough for a lot of investors there. Now, the new batch of ETFs that I'm expecting, and by the way, I've got no crystal ball on what the SEC is going to do, what they're going to approve. But we're making bets on some of our filings. But I do believe that there's going to be a lot of inflows into some of these tokens that are on top of a protocol that are doing real things, right? So that's why we made bets on things like HBAR and XRP as far as an ETF goes, just because we believe, and Solana as well, just because we believe that all three of them do different things, but they're the best at what they do. We also made a bet on Litecoin just because Litecoin is also another really good form of money based on the Bitcoin code. And if you think about we live in a wealthy country in the U.S. and we think about transactions in Bitcoin, but if you're in a country where you're making a lot of microtransactions all the time, something like Litecoin makes a little bit more sense, where it's less transaction fees, faster movement, but still has a lot of the security. And then I think the next step in the evolution is going to be in stable coins. A lot of people, we've had stable coins for years, but if we can get stable coins to be faster and cheaper to move around on certain networks, which is happening, then you're going to have a lot of interoperability between not just chains but countries, and people being able to actually not have to pay exorbitant fees to send money around the world.
Yeah, I think that's the killer use case. It's really going to ignite the world from the institutional level to the retail customer. I really do believe that's such a great point you're making. Now, do you guys have a range or projection for where you see Bitcoin maybe topping out in this next cycle here?
Yeah, I mean, we're really looking at Bitcoin at somewhere between 150 and 180, and I know that's low compared to where we were predicting last year and where a lot of other people are. And I also believe it's probably going to be end of Q1, beginning of Q2, where we see the top of that market. There's several reasons for that. I mean, we are ending, we're coming to the end of the 4-year cycle, which is, has played out every cycle that I've been involved, and since Bitcoin was launched. But also we're seeing some other macro headwinds that are causing us to really pull our numbers down a little bit. One of them being interest rates. So, the Fed just lowered rates again in December on the short end, but what happened was the long end popped and the inverted yield curve actually uninverted in December. And that's caused some issues in the market. Some of the reasons why there's an issue there is that when longer in rates actually go higher, then that's usually a signal that there's going to be more risk in the market, and people begin to de-risk and start moving into bonds that yield a little bit more on the longer end. So we are seeing that de-risking. We saw it today. We've seen it since December, since the yield curve actually inverted in December. We've seen very choppy markets and equities and everything. So that macro play is really going to come to fruition in 2025, where people are just going to begin to de-risk. Now, what's keeping all crypto markets up despite that environment is the fact that we've got these ETFs, we've got more ETFs coming, we've got a very pro-crypto administration, and you're going to see institutional investors, as they move more into bonds and away from equities, they're going to start allocating to some of these more asymmetric plays and uncorrelated or low correlated plays like crypto. So some of the particular tokens that we've seen institutional investors interested in outside of Bitcoin has been Solana, XRP, HBAR. Those are the main ones that I've seen a lot more interest in, and so we'll see how that plays out. But I'm also looking, by the way, at international markets, and I just spent time in Japan and South Korea in August and September to see, really what are people buying, what are people looking at, and there's a big interest in those two countries to have ETFs themselves, which they don't for crypto, but also investing in U.S. based ETFs. So I believe whatever we put out in the U.S. is going to be absorbed, largely by South Korean and Japanese investors.
Oh, well, yeah, I think you're really hitting on something there, because I know South Korea has a massive, massive XRP base. They are big on XRP in that community, no question about it. Now,
Absolutely. I mean, I was actually at the Ripple party or the Ripple event all day in South Korea in September with Brad and some others, and I mean, it was standing room only.
yeah, that's amazing, man. Now we get to the tricky question, and I know that this is an area you got to be sensitive with. What can you tell us about the XRP spot ETF, and are you inside a 90-day window for your application approval at this point?
Well, first of all, whatever I answer is going to be very tricky, but because I really can't say a whole lot.
Understood.
But what I can give you is more, technicalities.
Okay.
So technically, when you file an S1, it's got about a 75-day window. So we're really close to that. But because it's a 1933 Act fund, it does need a rule change approval on an exchange, which is a 19B4 filing. And so far, we've had no 19B4 filings from exchanges. We're just working to try to educate regulators, and at the same time working on education around that process as well. So you have to have a 19B4 filing on behalf of an exchange that asks for a rule change, and that rule change has to be granted by the SEC. And so there really is technically no window. But I think when you start seeing 19B4 filings, it's probably a signal that we're getting closer, but who knows how close it is. I mean, we filed 19B4s for Bitcoin ETFs, and it took years. But I do believe it'll be a little faster this time around.
Yeah, hopefully with the sea change that we're having, you won't get caught up in the previous administration and that, quagmire, and hopefully you'll get the approval right away. It'll be nice to see. Stephen McClurg from Canary Capital, man, I cannot thank you enough for being here. I've been so excited to have you on the show, and I hope you will come back and see us again soon.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And I hope that news when you come back is to tell us about an approval of the XRP ETF.
Me as well.
No doubt about it. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.